Want to say welcome again to those who are just coming in. Welcome their friends who are joining us online again to this place of grace where hearts unite and faith we embrace. Let us turn to our Bibles to Philippians 3. When the Apostle Paul was writing this letter to the Philippians, he wasn't thinking about surfing with one arm, but he was thinking about reaching towards the prize. As Paul says in verse 13, the first step is pressing. Pressing towards a goal is forgetting what is behind. Like any driving instructor, I am in the process of learning to drive right now. And when I go in the mornings, the instructor says, press, right? And then he says, ease. And I keep pressing. And that is how, as Christians, we need to keep pressing because we know what our aims are. An occasional glimpse at the road. You glimpse, but you keep turning back. You glimpse, you look in your rear view, you look in your blind spot, but you keep pressing. You have to press the gas. You have to press the brake. So we keep on pressing, and that is how we want, as children of God, to press. We're pressing for the prize ahead, and that prize is the heavenly kingdom. Paul knew from his own experience that some people might have trouble letting go of the past. This especially is true. If there was a lot of glory back there for Paul, that was the case. If anyone had any bragging rights, he had the rights to brag. And you know why he had the rights to brag? He found himself counting on God, and God was coming through for him every time he calls. And as Christians, we need to call on God in prayer. Some of us, we are lacking in prayer. We are lacking in our relationship with God. So we need to press on, buckle up ourselves and start pressing. If Paul had been a pathfinder, for example, Paul would be in the race running to do these honors. That is, he would have a sash full of every honor you can find, because he realized that it was his simple faith in Christ that rather than his own accomplishment. Now, some of us, I like when I get honors. When I get my honors and I have my sash on with lots of honors, I feel like I accomplished something. And that is how Paul felt. He felt he accomplished something, but rather than feeling the accomplishment that I'd win the prize, Paul realized that his former success were nothing. We have our houses, we have big cars, we have we have money, we have everything set out for us, but we have nothing unless we accomplish the righteousness of God. Most of us don't have any accomplishment to remember as Paul did, but some of us still hold on fast, like it was something, hold on to the past, like it was something important. And it's true, Pastor, isn't that true? Some of us just hold on to what they had in the past. This is the present. You're now in the church. Before you became a Christian or a child of God, you used to have all the slings, all the slang, the hype life. But now that you're in the church, you're a new creature. All those things are of a past. So we need to leave the past behind and focus on the future. Christ is our future, and we need to focus on him. That is what God has called us to do. Just like Paul put his previous life behind him, so should we. Whether we have a long list of credits or we are ashamed of our former days, it doesn't matter. Pressing towards the goal of Christ requires forgetting what is behind. The second step in pressing towards the goal is straining towards what's ahead. In Philippians 3:14, Paul describes the goal ahead of the prize of the heavenly call of God in Christ Jesus. In verse 9-11, Paul says that his goal involves being found in Christ and having a righteousness. That comes to the faith of Christ. In the spiritual race, Jesus is our coach and helper. Our confidence and ability come through God's Son, who has already done the work of salvation for us. The action required of us isn't that we earn our own righteousness, but that we take direction from the one who have already arrived ahead of us. Together with Jesus, we are straining towards what's ahead of us. Holding fast to what's already ahead of us, in verse 16 tells us that a third step in pressing towards the goal is holding fast. One songwriter says, "Hold fast till I come, sweet promise of heaven." And I am telling you, if you hold fast that promise that God has promised us, we will be with him. So we got to press on as long as also we hold fast. Just because we're depending on Jesus and his work of salvation doesn't mean that we don't have any responsibility. We do. Our responsibility is to keep learning and growing, to keep developing in our faith. You have heard the saying that the time you stop growing is the time you start dying. If we're going to hold fast to what we have already attained, then we can't ever be complacent about where we are. To stand still is to lose ground. It's like inflation. Unless your savings and investments are earning interest at least at the rate of inflation, your money is actually losing value. We can't just stick it in the mattress and forget it. We have to keep progressing just to keep up. We will now have, and as we have just tasted of the food from the plate, I want to say it is good. Pressing on is essentially in our journey of faith. Life often presents challenges that test our resolve and strength. It is through these very trials that our faith is deepened and our characters is defined. Pressing on means staying committed to our goals and beliefs. Even when the path is difficult, it's about moving forward with perseverance, and resilience, knowing that God walks with us every step of the way. As we leave today, let's carry with us commitment to press on with unwavering faith and the understanding that we are not alone. Let us draw strength from Christ and from one another, knowing that together we can face any challenge and achieve our spiritual goals. May God bless each of us as we continue our journey, pressing on, remaining united in love. We'll now have a special from Brother Conrad.